Welcome to Yonkers Raceway in Yonkers, New York for the Breeders' Crown Championship Series. Tonight, 2-year-old pacing fillies. These fillies will enjoy some very nice weather for racing, clear and cool. The track is very fast. Now, normally harness horses like warmer weather to go fast, but already tonight we have seen a track record set by an older trotter. This is such an outstanding field of young pacing fillies that perhaps we can look forward to a track record too. Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Smith, along with Stan Bergstein of the Harness Tracks of America. This 1985 crop of 2-year-old pacing fillies is remarkable in its depth. Unfortunately, because of circumstances, we apparently will not see the very best one.
The most remarkable of the remarkable crop, Follow My Star, has come up lame. She came up with a sore foot yesterday. Trainer Bruce Nichols tried desperately to get it poulticed and treated in time for tonight. Couldn't do it, ran out of time, and she will not be here, which now puts the heavy weight of favoritism on the entry. There, incidentally, you saw Follow My Star in one of her most brilliant triumphs. She had won 13 out of 14 this year, $817,000, and was bidding to become the first 2-year-old pacing filly ever to win $1 million. But now the favoritism goes to the entry of Caressable and Valentina from the Bill Haughton stable.
And they certainly are outstanding as well. In fact, Bill has been known to say that Valentina, particularly Caressable as well, are among the very, very best young fillies he's ever trained. And of course, there are people who think that Follow My Star may be the best 2-year-old pacing filly ever. So it's an exceptionally good crop. Well, we won't see Follow My Star, but we are going to see the fastest 2-year-old pacing filly in history. That is RAZZLE Hanover. She did it in a time trial recently in Lexington, and she's also a good racing filly, too.
Well, she is. She had set the world record of 1 minute 56 and 3/5 seconds over the 5/8 mile track at the Meadows in western Pennsylvania. On the strength of that performance, they sent her to Lexington for a time trial where she goes against the stopwatch with a running horse prompter. And in that race, she went in 1 minute 52 and 2/5. No 2-year-old filly has ever gone that fast before.
In fact, she went faster than Nihilator did at the Red Mile in a race, of course, and he was a colt last year. And she's just an extraordinarily fast filly.
There she is in action, and the question is, can she get around the half-mile track? Yonkers being the first half-mile track we've seen in this series. We've been looking at 5/8 mile tracks. This one, they go around twice. The turns are smaller, and once before this year, she did not get around the first turn in a race qualifying for a $300,000 La Paloma. The following week, however, she did. So the question tonight is, will she or won't she?
Well, it's a question that her trainer certainly is asking himself right now. Actually, he's probably more worried about other things. That's Jeff Mallet, who's got some experience in winning these races with very young horses. He did it last year with Dragon's Lair. He speaks to Kenny Rice right now.
I'm in the paddock with Jeff Mallet, the trainer of RAZZLE Hanover. She has certainly proven her speed, not just on a mile track, but also on a 5/8 track. How does she look going into tonight, Jeff?
Right, we look pretty good in there. She's certainly got a lot of speed. She has a tendency to be a little erratic at times on a half-mile track. She's made breaks once before here, and then once before here she won in 2 minutes. As far as speed goes, she has plenty. I'm excited about it, as long as we can get through that first turn okay.
Are you worried any at all about the half-mile track with her?
Well, it's a concern. She had made a break once before on a half-mile track, going for a lot of money early in the year. She's a great filly on a big track. She's a very good filly on a 5/8. She's a world's champion. And she's still a very fast filly on a half-mile.
With Follow My Star out tonight, how does that affect the strategy, think, not just for RAZZLE Hanover, but for the other horses in the field?
I think it affects it a lot. For one thing, it puts Billy Haughton in kind of a tough position. Valentina's got to follow a long shot instead of following Follow My Star, which would have been a big advantage. It sure helps us a lot. You hate to see a great filly like Follow My Star scratched. But, you know, it helps our chances.
Right, quickly, you've been in the winner's circle before in the Breeders' Crown. How about Dragon's Lair?
Right, Dragon's acting real good. He trained in 2 minutes this morning. He got a clean bill of health from the veterinarians at New Bolton Center to go on. We're hoping for the Breeders' Crown November 29th.
Good luck. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Kenny.
Jeff Mallet, the trainer of RAZZLE Hanover. Sharon?
Well, thank you, Kenny. Well, Follow My Star was the morning line favorite. She would have gone off as the favorite almost certainly tonight. She is out. That leaves morning line favoritism to the Haughton stable entry of Caressable and Valentina. You can see Caressable there listed at 2-to-1. That is the price in the morning line for the entry. Most of the others long shots. Valentina obviously 2-to-1 as well. RAZZLE Hanover an extremely generous 12-to-1. Perhaps the odds maker remembering her break here in a half-mile track earlier in the season. That's a look at the morning line for the Breeders' Crown race for 2-year-old 2-year-old pacing fillies, and that is ahead on ESPN. The Breeders' Crown is brought to you by Castleton Farm, tradition of excellence, commitment to the future. And by U.S. Air, with service to over 100 cities across the U.S. and Canada. And by Hemp Farms, home of the Keystones. We'll be back to talk with the great trainer and driver Billy Haughton, who has 2 horses going tonight, after a short time out. We're back at Yonkers Raceway, where the Breeders' Crown race for 2-year-old pacing fillies is still ahead. Earlier, we told you that Follow My Star, who would have been the favorite, has been scratched because of a hoof injury. Kenny Rice is trackside with her owner right now. Let's go down to Kenny.
Thanks, Sharon. With me, Mr. Allan Wilk, who is the owner of Follow My Star. With racing comes the good and the bad. You've had a lot of good with Follow My Star. Unfortunately, the bad comes tonight in the Breeders' Crown. She is unable to race. What is her condition right now? Will she be racing again this season?
Well, she probably could race. It would be tough to bring her back for her last stake, which would be the eliminations next weekend and the final on the following weekend. We've decided to retire her for the year.
She was racing so well this season. Still the best 2-year-old filly out here, you think? Filly of the year?
Well, I'm the owner. I would be the last one that should suggest that. My trainer tells me that, but we'd be very pleased if she got the honor.
She certainly has had a good season. I guess if there is any consolation, it is that next week you also have a 2-year-old looking forward to in the coming up next week in the Breeders' Crown.
Well, we have a Speedy Crown filly who was fortunate enough to beat the Mary Annabella winner this week, coming her last quarter in about 28 seconds in her 3rd race. And as I had indicated earlier, she just came off an operation for a trapped epiglottis.
Okay, thank you very much, and good luck next week, Mr. Wilk.
Thank you again.
Okay, Sharon, back to you.
Thank you, Kenny. Well, of course, anybody who's connected in any way with racehorses knows that there are ups and downs over a career, and certainly within a season. For some people, there are certainly a great deal of ups in one season, among them Billy Haughton. Now, he's spent the year really chasing records with his great 3-year-old pacing colt, Annihilator. Annihilator, of course, is the fastest racing standardbred of all time. He did it for Billy this summer, and Billy finds, though, he's not alone in his stable. There's 2 good 2-year-old pacing fillies, and here's Kenny with Billy right now.
Thanks, Sharon. It is very rare for any person to be at the top of their sport for 4 decades. This gentleman has, Bill Haughton, who as a driver and a trainer has dominated the sport for 4 decades now. And Bill, tonight you have Caressable in there. You're going to be driving Valentina. Of course, it has been a great year for Annihilator. Looking back on some of the great horses you have had, and you think a lot, too, of the filly pacers. You think of Belle Ecton, I guess, right off the bat, wouldn't you?
Yes, Stanley Dancer will tell you today that she's the greatest filly, 2-year-old filly he ever drove. He won the cane here in October when she was a 2-year-old, beating the males.
That was the thing about Belle. It's unusual to find a filly pacer going on as a mare to race against the colts and do well. You see that more often in the trotters. What made her special?
Well, she was just a great usable filly, had a tremendous amount of speed, and could go a long way.
People always like to compare. Is it fair to compare, say, a horse now like Valentina? Just a 2-year-old, is it too early to say this is a great horse, a horse destined for greatness?
Well, I think it's she is, because she's already done more than most of the others ever have. She went in 58 and 2 here, parked over 3/4 of a mile that night.
You've also handled, among others, and there's so many, but Handle with Care also comes to mind, another good filly for you. You see any similarities, say, when you're out on the track with Valentina as, say, with a Handle with Care?
Well, again, Handle with Care was a great race mare. She was easy to handle. She raced either from behind or in front, any way you wanted her. And again, she beat the males a good many times.
Part of the entry tonight, along with Valentina, is Caressable. Caressable has had success paralleling the lines of Follow My Star this year, and also along the lines of Valentina. How do you think she's coming into this race?
She should be real good. She's coming off of wins, and she's only been, I think, back of second once.
How do you see the race shaping up for Valentina tonight?
Well, I have a bad position, being Follow My Star was scratched. I thought it was great when I drew behind her, but now I'm behind a horse that shows almost nothing, and has never been on a half-mile track either.
So you don't have that speed in front of you.
I sure don't. I'm liable to get shuffled real bad.
Good luck tonight, Bill. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bill Haughton, driver, trainer in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, now in the 80s. He remains at or near the top of harness racing. Sharon?
Thank you, Kenny. The two-year-old race is still ahead, but up next we have got an open handicap for fillies and mares, a good group of fillies and mares. We'll take a short time out and then be back with that.
It's 1940.
Welcome back to Yonkers Raceway on Breeders' Crown Night, where we are going to see an open handicap, a filly and mare pace worth $20,000. 6 mares and 1 outstanding 3-year-old filly in the field. Here is a look at the entries in this race. You can look down them: Town Tramp, 301, I Merrill, Encourage My Dear, Prerogative, and Stop Me. And then the 3-year-old filly, Forever Sparkle. This filly at 3 to 5 right now, odds on. She set the track record here last week. And Stan, I don't think the fans here think anybody's going to beat her tonight.
Well, she has the track record, 157 and 4/5 for the mile set last week, lowering my Melissa's 158. Another reason, of course, is Michel Lachance, the leading driver. He's won 116 races. The next nearest driver here at this meeting, John Patterson Jr., has won 62. But Carmine Abatello has the 6-horse, Stop Me. He's returning. Used to be the favorite before Lachance took over.
So obviously the fans here are betting to a certain extent on the drivers, which is not always a bad thing to do. The good drivers win a lot of races.
Particularly when they have good horses like track record holders.
Yeah, Forever Sparkle is the one that the fans here are looking at. Now, these fillies are lining up behind the gate. These are pacing fillies now. 6 mares and 1 filly. The mares are called such at the age of 4. They are lining up. It's time to send it to Bob Breyer right now with the call. Bob?
And the track tries for the lead. Prerogative towards the outside second. Town Tramp along the inside third. Stop Me, the far outside fourth. 301 fifth. Courage My Dear sixth. Forever Sparkle tries to fill seventh. Around the turn down the backstretch. Iron Maryland in front filing. Prerogative is dropped in second. Stop Me moving on the outside third. Gap of 3 lengths. Town Tramp fourth. 301 fifth. 2 lengths back to Courage My Dear sixth. Forever Sparkle seventh. Coaching the quarter pole. Stop Me takes over the lead by 3 lengths. I Maryland back to second. Quarter time is 28 and 2. At paddock turn the first time. Stop Me in front by 3 lengths. I Maryland second. Prerogative third. Town Tramp moves to the outside fourth. 301 right with her fifth. Courage My Dear on the rail sixth. Forever Sparkle alongside seventh. As they come by the stands the first time, Stop Me in front by a length and a half. I Maryland second. Town Tramp the outside third. Prerogative on the rail fourth. With 301 alongside fifth. Halftime, 59 seconds flat. Around the clubhouse turn the final time. Stop Me in front by 3/4 of a length. Town Tramp on the rim second. I Maryland along the inside third. 301 the outside fourth. Prerogative on the rail fifth. Forever Sparkle the outside sixth. Courage My Dear seventh. Down the backstretch. Stop Me leads by half length. Town Tramp alongside second and challenge. I Maryland on the rail third. Forever Sparkle moves 3 wide on the outside fourth. 301 in between horses fifth. 3/4, 128 and 3. Round the far turn. Stop Me on the inside. Town Tramp alongside second. Forever Sparkle the far outside third. 3 of them across the track. I Maryland looks for racing along the inside fourth. 301 alongside fifth. Lincoln towards the top of the stretch. Stop Me has the lead. Forever Sparkle the far outside second with Town Tramp third. Through the stretch, Forever Sparkle gets the lead. Stop Me and Town Tramp. Forever Sparkle in front and blown away.
She ran a good race, but
got it. Forever Sparkle was the odds-on favorite, and she raced like one and had to go off wide on that turn, though.
Well, it was interesting because, as I mentioned, the rivalry between Abatello and Lachance, and Lachance took that filly away on the outside last. She was still last at the half-mile mark. Here on the backstretch, approaching the 3/4, Lachance moves up 3 wide with the filly. That is Abatello leading with Stop Me, number 6, down along the rail. In between them, Town Tramp, the 1 horse. That's John Patterson driving. He's the second leading driver at this meeting. So there are 3 of the tops of Yonkers battling it out. And Lachance had the most filly. She set the track record here for 3-year-olds last week, as Sharon mentioned. And she simply overpowers Stop Me here in the stretch. coming down through this short lane at Yonkers, and watch Lachance go to work on the outside.
Actually, he didn't have to work all that hard, did he?
Never even uses the whip. Doesn't have to draw the sword, as they say, and wins very handily, of course, by 2 open lengths, with 3:01 finishing second, coming on in the drive, and Courage, My Dear, finishing third.
And 158-3, although it's not too close to her own record, it was certainly nothing to be ashamed of. 58-3 is very good on a cool night. Forever Sparkle, 3:01, and Courage, My Dear, at 158-3. So the odds-on favorite, the winner of this open pace for fillies and mares. We are going to take a short time out and then be back with more from Yonkers Raceway in New York.
Here's a special winner.
Well, the 8th race is official here at Yonkers. The winner, Forever Sparkle, the 3-year-old pacing filly, paying $340, $260, and $240. She was the odds-on favorite. In second place, 3:01, and she paid $16.20 and $5.40. In third place, Courage, My Dear, paying $6 to show. So that is the official order of finish for this 8th race, this open pace for fillies and mares. Every time that you look at a harness race, you watch the drivers working hard, or not working so hard, perhaps, as in the case of that filly that we saw win that race. It's a challenge driving, something that I discovered recently. I have ridden horses quite a lot, but I have never driven them. So at Delvin Miller's farm in Pennsylvania recently, I talked to driver Cherie Keith about how to drive a horse, and she gave me some instructions on how you drive a harness horse. It's something that I had never done before. Here's what Cherie had to tell me.
The first thing you should know is you don't want to crash. It's easy here because there's nothing to crash into. If you're at a raceway, you have to be sure you're not hitting any other horses or any equipment on the track at the time.
So I have to look around to make sure.
Look around.
It's there, yeah.
And if you have a nice sized colt like this one, you have to make sure you're looking around the sides because you can't always see over top.
Okay.
You want to take a nice light hold of your horse. And
you do have him held lighter than if he was a riding horse. You would have more contact with a riding horse.
You want a nice light contact. You want the horse to be willing to move forward. The most important thing this horse is going to do in his career is move forward. And so you want him very willing to move on. And you always want to keep your horses with a nice soft mouth. You don't ever want to abuse them with the bit in their mouth.
You don't want to discourage him from going forward when he should be.
You want to keep him as happy as possible. You want him to like being out here. He's to be an athlete, he's going to have to spend many hours and many miles going around these circles, and you have to keep his attitude as good as possible. A horse with a bad attitude doesn't make a good racer.
All right, you are flipping the whip at him. You're not hitting him in any way to sting him,
though. No, mostly what you use the whip for is just a cue, a trick. You want him to feel that, to know that he's to move forward, to keep his attention. It's so much different than riding when you can use your legs on a horse, that he's mostly listening to the lines and to the whip. You want to try?
Sure, why not? Now, you hold on to the whip.
I'll hold the whip.
Do I hold the reins similarly to if I was riding? I mean, I would just sort of...
The way to hold the lines is you want to put them between your middle finger and your index finger like that, with your thumb over top. And that way, someday when you're driving your horse, you can hold your stopwatch in this hand.
Oh, I see. Oh, excellent.
And your whip will be in that hand, and you'll be well equipped.
Okay, I do need to steer him
drive him home in the stretch and you
okay, now, yes, he wants to go into the gap here and finish for the day.
They always want to head out the gate.
Okay, one thing to notice, anywhere near a gate. All right.
And the young horses, they drift around a little. You have to, like I say, keep their attention. Keep them headed in the right direction because they are just babies.
Okay, now to slow them down a little, just pull, but not hang on.
Just ease on him a little bit, and he'll come right to you.
Easy, easy. I'm getting a little nervous about letting him.
Hello to his buddy next door. He's doing fine. You're doing fine.
He's very enthusiastic. This is nice to know. Want to go around again? Okay, come on. Come on. Come on. No, come on.
Don't stopwatch. You ready for your whip?
Yeah, I am.
We need more women in this sport.
I'm enjoying this, Cherie.
I'm glad. Yeah, we'll get him over here to the outside a little. Come on, boy.
Well, Stanley, believe it or not, that was only a yearling colt, bonefish
Never mind the yearling colt. I think Lachance and EVITA are both in trouble here.
I'll tell you, it was great fun.
It looks like
and it was a remarkably good well-behaved colt. And just after that, I drove a yearling filly by myself by Arndon.
I heard all about it, and I heard you did great.
Well, I'll tell you, I just fell in love with that filly. She's probably like a $50,000 filly or more, and I couldn't afford her. I wish I could. So that is a little look at driving. I had a good time. Kenny Rice is having a good time. He's trackside. Let's go down to Kenny right now.
Sharon, I think a couple of trainers were looking for you just a minute ago. Some driver changes have been made. Gillian's Dream is going to be driven now by Gary Mosher, and Caressable is not driven tonight by Bill O'Donnell. Instead, Herve Filion will be on him. Now, there is an update in the odds. At even money is the Haughton entry right now, and at 5-2 is Bashful Angel. A little bit of surprise, but local driver Carmine Abatello on him. Now, we'll be back with more of the Breeders' Crown from Yonkers right after this.
Come on. Keep going a little faster, sweetheart. A little bit further. Come on. We'll be back with more after this timeout. Come on. Okay, easy. Welcome back to Yonkers Raceway in Yonkers, New York. It is the Breeders' Crown for 2-year-old pacing fillies. Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Smith, along with Stan Bergstein and Kenny Rice. These fillies are racing for a total purse of $632,000, $316,000 to the winner of this race. If either Caressable or Valentina wins, she will become the richest 2-year-old pacing filly ever. That honor currently held by Follow My Star. Here are the fillies. The #1 filly is Caressable. This is a Niatros filly owned by Wall Street Stable 2, most of the same people that are involved with the ownership of Nihilator out of the Bill Haughton stable. And Herve Filion in to drive instead of Bill O'Donnell. This is Caressable, the #1 horse, part of the Bill Haughton stable entry. That is a look at this handsome Niatros filly. The #1A is Valentina. Now, Bill Haughton himself is driving this horse. Al Apples Thomas out of the Bill Haughton stable is the trainer of record for this filly. Robert Key is the owner of Valentina, and she is a $38,000 yearling, daughter of Tyler B., who is one of Niatros's arch rivals and has done almost as well as the great Niatros at stud. That is Valentina. Continuing on with the post parade now, the #3 horse. This is Night of Fire. Now, this is an albatross filly, extremely well bred, but she, believe it or not, is looking for her first victory. She has placed a couple of times, won $14,000. The 5 Aces racing partners are the owners of this filly. This is Night of Fire. She is one of the long shots in the field. The #4 horse is GILLIAN'S Dream. This is a Niatros filly owned by Stanley Caskell and Val Dorr Farms of New York. She is a sister to chairman of the board. That's certainly good breeding. Gary Mosher is in to drive her, replacing Richard Silverman. She, too, believe it or not, is looking for her first victory, but she has won $80,000. She's placed in some big races, so GILLIAN'S Dream has some credentials to be here tonight. The #5 horse is Share Alike. John Patterson Jr., the driver, Paul Manna, the trainer. Harry Bysick and the Fine Children Farms are the owners of Share Alike. This is a Brett Hanover filly. All these fillies are extremely well bred. They've certainly got futures as brood mares at the end of their racing career. She has won 8 times in her career. This is the fast one, RAZZLE Hanover. This is the one who became the fastest 2-year-old pacing filly in history thanks to a time trial. Michelle Lachance is the driver of this filly. Jeff Mallet, the trainer. She is owned by a group which does include driver Michelle Lachance, part of the ownership of this filly. This is the #7 horse. This is Bashful Angel, which is getting considerable support from this crowd. She's an extremely lightly raced filly, a daughter of Albatross. Carmine Abatello, very, very popular driver, the driver of Bashful Angel. George Siegel and Daisy Akers, the owners. Armbro EVITA is the 8 horse. John Copas is the driver of this horse. Roger Copas, out of the Jack Copas stable, is the trainer of Armbro EVITA. Armstrong Brothers of Ontario own this filly and bred her. Most Happy Fella is her sire. She, too, certainly has some credentials in terms of breeding and also in terms of racing. She has won more than $100,000. POWERSCOURT is the #9 horse. James Doherty, the driver of this horse. Timothy Rooney, the president of this racetrack, is the owner of this filly. Harry Harvey, the trainer of POWERSCOURT. She is a daughter of Bee Gees Bunny, a New Jersey-based stallion. That is a look at the field, and it is a very strong field of 2-year-old two-year-old pacing fillies. Stan, who do you like here?
Well, some problems here because the post positions are not the saddle pad numbers that you've seen. Here's Caressable, who has post position 3. Bill O'Donnell, current leading driver in the sport, was supposed to drive. He was helicoptering over from Garden State, New Jersey, where he raced earlier tonight, didn't make it in time. And Herve, Filion, the all-time leading driver of the sport with over 9,000 victories, will drive instead. Her stablemate, Valentina, you heard Bill Haughton referring to position. She is drawn post position 9. Follow My Star had the rail with scratch, so all the horses in the first tier move in, but Valentina does not. She has to remain in the second tier, and so does RAZZLE Hanover. So does Armbro, EVITA, and POWERSCOURT have to remain in the second tier. There's Valentina with Bill Haughton. Haughton thinks this is the greatest filly he's ever driven. RAZZLE Hanover, the speed horse, number 6, will start from post position 5 and will have the driving services of Michel Lachance. And if anyone knows this racetrack, it's Lachance. He has won more races here than anyone else this year or last year. The big danger is the first turn where RAZZLE Hanover had problems earlier in the year. POWERSCOURT, Tim Rooney's horse, named for the most famous Waterford Crystal pattern and for a famous estate in Ireland, has Jim Doherty, and she has speed, is coming off of an impressive victory, a very impressive victory in her last start. She's an outsider at 12-1 and might surprise.
Anything in the odds here, Stan, surprise you? I was a little bit surprised at this very lightly raced Bashful Angel getting quite so much support from the crowd, although her odds are going up a little bit.
Well, she beat GILLIAN'S Dream by 2 3/4 lengths recently, 158 and 3. She's only made 6 starts, but won 3 of them.
Well, that is a look at the field for this Breeders' Crown race for two-year-old pacing fillies, and if you're looking for quality, you are certainly looking at it here tonight. We'll be back with the race from Yonkers Raceway in New York after this time out.
Since 1940.
We're back at Yonkers where post time for this two-year-old filly pace approaches. It started out anyway to be a large field. That means horses leaving behind other horses, Stan. And what does that do, especially, of course, to Valentina?
2 tiers, and it's very tough. There are only 6 in the first tier. You do not move from the back tier to the first. Bill Haughton with Valentina thought he was going to be starting behind Follow My Star. Now he is starting behind Night of Fire, who is 25-1. No, is 22-1 right now, and who has never raced on a half-mile track and has made only 6 starts in her life. Haughton is worried. He is behind an inexperienced horse going into a half-mile track turn, and he doesn't know how he'll make out. RAZZLE Hanover, on the other hand, who has that blazing speed, doesn't know whether she can get around the first turn. If she gets around the first turn, she has tremendous speed and should be able to carry it.
It's a case where it might be nice to be on the outside away from all these other fillies. Let's go down to Kenny, trackside right now.
Thanks, Sharon. As Stan mentioned, it's going to be interesting to see how Valentina gets off. That was one of the concerns of Bill Haughton when it was announced that Follow My Star was scratched, because he was looking for that speed in front of him to set things up. Also be interesting about RAZZLE Hanover. Jeff Mallet's very impressed with his filly. She has done well, obviously, on a mile and a 5/8. He thinks that she can do well on a half mile, but she has broken before, and that is his big concern. The crowd here likes him. That's the top 2 choices, and, well, they should be. Sharon?
Thank you very much, Kenny. Well, the Valentina Caressable entry is currently listed as 3-5. They are odds on, at least according to this crowd here tonight. That's short odds. Of course, you're getting 2 very, very good fillies for the price of 1. RAZZLE Hanover at 2-1. Remember, the morning line odds maker listed her at 12-1. The crowd is probably better down on the strength of that extraordinary time trial. Currently now, Bashful Angel, the 7 horse at 8-1. Those are the only horses in single figures. The rest are genuine long shots. So, you know, if you like a long shot, maybe you spotted one earlier. These 2-year-old pacing fillies getting ready to line up. Any observations here on how these horses wound up? I noticed earlier, Stan, that Caressable didn't seem to want to pace while she was
acting up a little bit earlier. Filion, of course, never sat behind the horse before in his life, to my knowledge. Will be driving her brand new, but Herve Filion, as you mentioned, he's won over 9,000 races, and in one single season, he won 637, so he knows his way around the racetrack. Shouldn't have too much trouble with her. Valentina, we'll see how she races. Both of these horses have something in common. They both started 14 times and won 9. They both won over $500,000. They both let loose in their last starts, which is a danger signal, something wrong, and Bill Haughton thinks it might have been that they both had throat problems and haven't fully recovered, possibly.
Yeah, he did mention that they had them at almost the same time, but not quite. But he thinks that they're healthy now. Valentina looked very good warming up. She's very attractive, neat-looking filly.
They haven't been holding on at the finish. They haven't been hanging in there at the end, and that, of course, can be very, very costly. And if RAZZLE, Hanover, and POWERSCOURT can mount their charges, we'll see what happens here.
In fact, Valentina is, if the races were only 7/8 of a mile, she looks like she'd be a sure winner. She is leading at the 7/8 pole in virtually all of her races, but that's not where they pay the money.
No one mentioned Cherie Keith, and she was beaten only ahead by Follow My Star just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, she didn't come off a real good race in Lexington, but before that, she was, you know, outstanding. She won several races in a row. So Cherie Keith might be your long shot if you're looking for some odds, because you won't get any odds in Caressable and Valentina. They will go off as the odds-on favorite here tonight.
Patterson is driving Cherie Keith. Johnny Patterson Jr. is the second leading driver here, as we mentioned earlier, behind, of course, Michelle Lachance, who has spread eagle the field, over 120 wins now.
Okay, and these two-year-old pacing fillies are lining up again. They'll be lining up in 2 tiers, even though one late withdrawal and a scratch has probably left room for more of them on the first tier. There will be those fillies, including part of the favored entry, lining up on the second tier. These fillies are getting into line now behind the starting gate, and their noses are at the gate. As these fillies approach the start, let's go upstairs to Bob Meyer, the track announcer.
They're on. GILLIAN'S Dream tries for the lead. Caressable in between horses second. Cherie Keith towards the outside third. RAZZLE Hanover the far outside fourth. Knight of Fire on the rail fifth. Valentina Loney inside sixth. Around the turn, moving towards the back stretch. GILLIAN'S Dream in front by 3 lengths. Caressable in between horses second. Knight of Fire on the rail third. Cherie Keith 3 wide on the outside fourth. With RAZZLE Hanover moving on the far outside fifth. Approaching the quarter pole, GILLIAN'S Dream has the lead. Cherie Keith the outside second to challenge. Quarter time was 28-3. At the paddock turn the first time, GILLIAN'S Dream on the inside. Cherie Keith alone side second. RAZZLE Hanover the far outside third. 3 of them across the track. Caressable along the inside fourth. Knight of Fire fifth. EVITA sixth. Valentina seventh. As they come out the stands the first time, RAZZLE Hanover on the outside kicks over the lead. GILLIAN'S Dream back to second. Cherie Keith moving on the rim third. Caressable on the inside fourth. Camper Feelings. EVITA the outside fifth. Knight of Fire on the rail sixth. Valentina seventh. POWERSCOURT eighth. And BASHFUL Angel trails the field ninth. Halftime is 58 seconds flat. Around the clubhouse turn the final time. RAZZLE Hanover is drawn out by 3 lengths. GILLIAN'S Dream second. Caressable on the rail third. Cherie Keith the outside fourth. EVITA 3 wide on the outside fifth. Training out down the right stretch. RAZZLE Hanover in front by 3.5 lengths. Caressable coming on second. EVITA the far outside third. Valentina the extreme outside fourth. 3/4, 129 flat. Round the far turn, RAZZLE Hanover in front by 2 lengths. Caressable on the rail second. Valentina the far outside third. EVITA in between horses fourth. Knight of Fire on the rail fifth. BASHFUL Angel the outside sixth. Taking towards the top of the stretch. RAZZLE Hanover has the lead. Caressable in between horses second. Valentina the far outside. Through the stretch, Caressable down the center track with RAZZLE Hanover and Valentina. Caressable and Valentina. Caressable and Valentina. Caressable in front.
Well, there we have it. I think Billy Haughton's got to be a happy man right now. His fillies certainly performed well for him tonight.
They finished 1-2, and Billy was really roaring at the 3/4. He had to get out of there very cautiously, and of course was virtually trailing the field. Lachance got to the front with RAZZLE Hanover. Didn't have any trouble getting around the turn, but then Herve Filion with Caressable came on, and Filion guiding this filly with power and authority.
Okay, let us look at the finish again. Caressable, an outstanding performance. We give all the credit in the world to Valentina, considering where she had to race her.
Lachance here is trying to master RAZZLE Hanover and keep her together coming into the stretch. Here comes Filion with Caressable driving up the challenge, and Haughton on the outside. POWERSCOURT also closing fast for Jim Doherty. There's Filion urging on, no whip. As you can see, just leaning into her, he has Caressable in front, and Billy Haughton closing with her stablemate Valentina, who suffered shuffling back in the early stages and made a very strong rally. So here is the great Herve Filion returning to victory lane.
And Bill O'Donnell is probably wishing his helicopter had moved a little bit faster. Caressable, the unofficial winner of this 2-year-old filly pace in the Breeders' Crown. We'll be back with more from Yonkers Raceway and take another look at Caressable, the winner of the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly pace, after this timeout. We're back at Yonkers where the race is official. Caressable is the winner of the 2-year-old filly pace in the Breeders' Crown. Her stablemate out of the Haughton stable, Valentina, getting second in the photo finish. And RAZZLE Hanover, the second choice, getting third. Form certainly held. Kenny Rice is trackside with a man who was very happy to pick up a late ride here tonight. Let's get on to Kenny.
Thanks, Sharon. Indeed he is. Herve, you were sitting around back there, and they said Bill O'Donnell can't make it, but you drive tonight.
Well, Billy came to the paddock to me. He said, it looks like they ain't going to make it. So, Herve, would you race that? Take a shot with that mare? I said, why not? I said, you can't win him if you're not in him.
Well, what do you think about Caressable now?
Well, Caressable, she's a real nice filly. Her record proved that, and I was lucky enough. They had a fast half, and at the 5/8, I had a chance to move out, so I took advantage of it. And around the last turn, I moved kind of early on Michael Lachance that was in front because the filly fell real good, you know. She fell real good, and I moved her, and she won pretty easy. I didn't have to go to the whip with her. I just pushed on her, and she was strong all the way.
You were able to conserve her a little bit. They get out to a fast time of 58 for the first half, and as we see right here coming around for this final half here, you were able to save some ground by standing along the rail.
Yeah, around the first turn there, you know, we left out of there kind of quick, so I just kind of steadied her around the first turn, and I got in the 2-hole. And right there, the 3/4 pole there, I knew the filly was real strong, so I moved her early coming off the turn, and she went pretty handy. She's just a real good filly, that's all I can say.
Did you expect Mike Lachance to get out so fast with RAZZLE Hanover going wide early in the race and setting the pace?
Well, I figured that Mike will be out there winging, you know, pretty good, you know, go for the lead, because that filly, she's a real top filly, and they're all a good bunch of filly, you know, when they make it there, so they're top filly. See, you see right here, I just pushed on her. She was strong all the way. I had no trouble. She's just a great filly.
When you called on her, she had it?
Oh, yeah, she was strong all the way. I was just a passenger. I had no trouble at all.
How good is this horse? First time you had a chance to really see her up close.
Well, her record proved that she's top filly, and she proved it again tonight. And the way she did it kind of easy, and she was strong all the way.
Well, you were a good passenger.
Oh, I was just a nice passenger out there. It felt good all the way.
Congratulations. Yet another trip for Herve Filion to the winner's circle. Congratulations. And as you can hear, always one of the favorites here at Yonkers. As you take a look at Caressable, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Kenny. She's a little excitable in the winner's circle down there, and she should be. She's now a very rich filly. In fact, the richest 2-year-old pacing filly ever. She's taken that title away from Follow My Star, who couldn't race here tonight. So Caressable, a daughter of the great Niatros, has won the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly pace. There's lots more ahead here at Yonkers Raceway in New York. We will take a short time out, then be back with more of the winner's circle ceremonies for the filly Caressable.
Since 1942.
Well, it's official, and the payoffs are posted. Caressable, the winner of the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly pace, paying $340, $3, and $210. Her stablemate Valentina was second. The payoff's obviously the same. If you had either one, you've got the payoff. RAZZLE Hanover finishing third, paying $210 to show. So that is the official order of finish, the first 3 finishers in the Breeders' Crown 2-year-old filly pace. It's just about time for the trophy presentation, so let's go down to the winner's circle.
Okay, Sharon, it's time for Bob Bonney to get yet another trophy.
Bob, on behalf of Tim Rooney, Yonkers Raceway, and the Hambletonian Society, congratulations to you, your Wall Street stables, too.
Thank you very much.
Herve, great race, nice filly. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Bob. You want to sit that down or hold it?
I'll hold on to it. That's
I mean,
right.
You're used to these trophies now. Congratulations, Bob Bonney, Wall Street Stable. And Caressable comes through with the victory tonight. Your thoughts on her race?
She's a hell of a filly, and it was in with a great bunch of fillies, and I'm just tickled to death with a smile.
For Wall Street, it has been a banner year, and for the last couple of years with Nihilator, with the 2 fillies tonight, you just keep finding them, don't you?
They're all by Niatros. That helps. That helps a lot.
Well-bred group we had here tonight.
A hell of a bunch of fillies, some great fillies in there. It's a real honor to beat these fillies.
Caressable did not get the attention that the stablemate Valentina was getting, yet no one was doubting her either in tonight's race.
I agree with that, but Valentina is a great mare. She's been there right from the beginning of the year, so as I said, it's an honor to compete with these fillies, nevertheless beat them.
What do you think has made Caressable so good for you this year? She has obviously been consistent. Maybe some people were wondering, would the layoff hurt a little bit? How would she do?
She's a real credit to the Haughton stable. This filly was a tough filly to break. Her groom homie in the Haughton stable, Robbie Roberts in particular, I can't say enough the job they did for her, because she's been a tough filly all along, and they did a sensational job with this filly.
Congratulations again, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob Bonney, one of the owners of Caressable, and the celebration continues down here. Sharon?
Well, thank you very much, Kenny. We're going to look at the race again in a moment. You know, anybody who owns a horse like Nihilator is happy to have a major stakes-winning filly. It's too bad she's also by Niatros, so they can't be bred. But
Bob Bonney touched on the success of the Wall Street stable, and that's Niatros, their belief in him.
Obviously, and rightly so. Okay, here we go.
Watch Lachance on the outside. The question was, can RAZZLE HANOVER get around the turn? And obviously, she did, without any difficulty. That's Mike Lachance out there, and you see Billy Haughton down along the rail, and he has to be very cautious because he was behind that long shot. Had no idea how she was going to race. There you see Filion moving up with Caressable, and on the outside of Filion, Cher-like with Sonny Patterson. Now going on after GILLIAN'S Dream, who had gotten out of there very fast for Gary Mosier. Up on the outside, that's Sonny Patterson. And there is Lachance, and now he moves with RAZZLE HANOVER. He's discovered she can make the turn without too much difficulty. He knows she has the speed. And here comes Mike Lachance as they head into the stretch for the first time, approaching the half-mile mark. And he guns RAZZLE HANOVER on by GILLIAN'S Dream for the lead coming to the half. Very deliberate and gets there in 58 seconds. It's a very snappy pace with a whip over the shoulder. Haughton is still shuffled way back, as you can see, along the rail. Now, pay close attention when they start into the backstretch, because Herve Filion, who modestly said he just got out, had difficulty going into the backstretch. He was in very tight quarters behind a horse that was tiring. Right here, you see GILLIAN'S Dream start to tire. Filion whips out around and goes on. And now you see the long striding Caressable eating up the ground. And now the question is, can Mike Lachance keep RAZZLE HANOVER and her speed alive? Here comes Caressable in pursuit, and now Haughton on the extreme outside makes his move 3 wide with Valentina. She's got tremendous speed, but she's been back a long way, and she is going to have to hustle. She comes up alongside of her stablemate, Caressable, but Filion now comes out of the hole behind the leader and comes on RAZZLE HANOVER again here at the head of the stretch. Now Lachance tries desperately to keep RAZZLE HANOVER alive. Filion, at this point, knows he has it won. His only question is, can he hold off the stablemate, Valentina? And he can, handily, by a length and 3/4. And he's home. The last half, not as fast as the first, but it was 1 minute and 2 for the last half, but a good performance.
It's also worth $300,000+ to that filly. Now, a reminder for you, you do have a chance to win a trip to Pompano Park for the Breeders' Crown race at Pompano Park. You must send in a postcard to Breeders' Crown Sweepstakes. The address is 47 Orient Way, Suite 3B, Rutherford, New Jersey, 07070 by midnight, October 15th, and you will have a chance for a drawing for the trip to Pompano Park. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
Tradition.
We're back at Yonkers, where we've seen Caressable win the 2-year-old filly Pace in the Breeders' Crown Championship Series. Stan, was it enough to make her the outstanding 2-year-old pacing filly of the year, or does Follow My Star still have that?
No, I think they're still going to have consider Follow My Star. I'm happy for Bonnie. I'm happy for Guide. I'm happy for Bill Haughton, the trainer, but I'm particularly happy for Herve Filion. Some people thought he was an eclipse. It's 11 years since he set his record. Here he is again. A great, great driver.
Well, Caressable is the winner. Kenny Rice is trackside. Let's go down to him for a final comment. Kenny?
Thanks, Sharon. With Follow My Star out tonight, there was no surprise. Expected the entry to be there, along with RAZZLE HANOVER. That's the way they finished up. Caressable was impressive, and you can't say enough about Herve Filion. That's one reason he's made so many trips to the winner's circle. Just a beautiful drive for him tonight. Sharon?
Well, thank you very much, Kenny. So we have seen the 2-year-old pacing fillies. Next week in the Breeders' Crown Series, we get to see the 2-year-old trotting fillies, and we will get to see harness racing at the most magnificent new establishment in harness racing, Garden State Park in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Friday night here on ESPN, the 2-year-old trotting fillies in the Breeders' Crown Championship Series. But that is it for the Breeders' Crown for this Friday night. The 2-year-old pacing fillies have finished. The race won by Caressable. The Breeders' Crown has been brought to you by U.S. Air, with service to over 100 cities across the U.S. and Canada. and by Hanover Shoe Farms. Tomorrow's champions are at Hanover Shoe Farms. For Stan Burstein and Katie Rice, I'm Sharon Smith. We thank you for being with us for the Breeders' Crown on ESPN.